What if I told you that right now governments on both sides of the Atlantic are implementing laws that could fundamentally change how you access information online forever? And they're doing it all in the name of protecting children. But here's the terrifying part. These laws might actually make the internet more dangerous for the very kids they claim to protect. So as a side note, on my recent video that I uploaded on the second data leak for the T app, I got a comment stating that they felt the subject matter was too serious to have Helldivers 2 clips running in the background and that they would prefer screenshots. I wanted to focus, honestly, on making sure the research was pretty good and that the script was written. Didn't really have a lot of time to do any editing. Takes a lot of work to kind of get everything set up. My makeup, my hair. I know my hair doesn't look great most of the time, but to get all that set up to do face cam. And so, yeah, I tried just to put a screenshot up here because this is a little bit more of a serious topic as well. Honestly, didn't think there was anything wrong with just putting gameplay clips in the background. So my bad. Let me know in the comments if you have a preference either way, if just having a screenshot up on screen or gameplay, or if it doesn't matter. But yeah, so let's just get back to the video. Today, we're diving deep into two major pieces of legislation that are reshaping internet freedom as we know it, and why you should be very, very concerned. So first up, let's start with what's happening right now in the UK. As of July 25th, 2025, the UK's Online Safety Act is in full force, and it's already causing chaos. Within hours of implementation, VPN signups in the UK skyrocketed by 1,400%. Think about that for a second. People are so desperate to avoid these new controls that they're immediately turning to tools that hide their internet activity. Here's what this law actually does, beyond the cheerful government press releases. So you have an age verification nightmare. If you want access to any site with user-generated content, get ready to submit a selfie, upload your government ID, or link your bank account to verify your age. That's right, even for perfectly legal adult content, you now need to prove who you are to Big Brother before you can browse the internet. And here's why this is really dystopian. The law doesn't just target obvious adult sites. Platforms like Reddit, Discord, and even Wikipedia could require age verification. Think about what this means. There's now a permanent record of every adult website you visit, tied directly to your identity, whether it's actually for adults or not. The law also gives regulators the power to demand that platforms scan encrypted messages for quote-unquote harmful content. Cybersecurity experts are rightfully sounding the alarm on this. It effectively breaks end-to-end encryption. When you have a backdoor for the supposed good guys, guess what? The bad guys can use it too. And here's something truly chilling. Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal have become enforcement arms of this law and are subject to other stupid stuff that we've been talking about. They're cutting off financial services to platforms that simply just don't comply. And this includes private corporations. What this means is that private corporations are now acting as government censors, deciding what content you're allowed to access based on political directives. That's not the way this is supposed to go. Meanwhile, in America, where the Kids Online Safety Act is making its way through Congress with disturbing bipartisan support, it's not looking great, guys. And I mean, when I say bipartisan, I mean it has support from both progressive Democrats and conservative Republicans. This should immediately set off alarm bells, because when politicians from opposite sides agree on internet regulation, you know someone's rights are about to disappear. And what about this argument of duty of care? Well, guess what? That's just a Trojan horse. The Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA, creates something called a duty of care requirement. Sounds reasonable, right? Platforms have to care about kids' safety. But here's the catch. This duty of care covers incredibly vague concepts like preventing anxiety, depression, and compulsive usage in minors. Think about the implications. A forum discussing mental health recovery could cause anxiety. LGBTQ plus support groups might lead to depression if interpreted through a hostile lens. Educational content about historical atrocities, well, that could cause distress for somebody. All of this becomes legally risky for platforms to host. And when platforms face potential lawsuits for content that might harm kids, they have one logical response: to over-censor everything. It's a lot easier to block 1,000 legitimate conversations than risk one lawsuit. This isn't speculation either. We've seen this pattern with every similar law. Earlier versions of KOSA gave state attorney generals enforcement power. While that's been modified, the threat remains. We're talking about giving political officials the power to decide what information young people can access online. Do you really want government officials controlling internet access? Because I know I don't. Before we dive deeper into the Think of the Children playbook, let's address the elephant in the room that people just don't want to talk about: parental responsibility. We live in an era of iPad kids, children who are handed devices as digital babysitters while parents just scroll on their phones. The uncomfortable truth is that many of these internet safety problems stem from a fundamental abdication of parental responsibility, not from a lack of government control. When did we decide that the government should be responsible for what children see online instead of, the people who brought those children into the world? Where are the parents? Your 8-year-old doesn't need unrestricted access to the internet. Your 12-year-old doesn't need to be on social media unsupervised. Those aren't technical problems requiring legislative solutions. They're parenting problems requiring actual parenting. Instead of bubble wrapping the entire internet, parents should be teaching their children how to navigate online spaces safely. Kids need to learn critical thinking skills, how to identify reliable sources, how to handle cyberbullying, and how to protect their privacy. These are life skills that government censorship can't provide. And let's be real here. Every major platform already has parental controls. Every router can be configured to block content. Every device has screen time limits and content filters. Parents have more control tools available today than ever before in history. But using them does require effort, engagement, and actually paying attention to what your kids are doing online. So instead, we're just outsourcing parenting to politicians. When we demand that governments do something about kids online, we're essentially just saying that politicians and bureaucrats know better than parents what children should and shouldn't see. Do you really want some politician deciding what's appropriate for your child based on their political agenda? The real question isn't how do we make the internet safe for children? It should be, why aren't parents taking responsibility for their children's internet usage? Now, with that context in mind, here's what's really happening with both of these laws. They're using the oldest trick in the authoritarian playbook. Think of the children. It's incredibly difficult to argue against protecting kids, which makes these laws politically bulletproof. But look past the emotional manipulation and you'll see a pattern. Even life-saving information gets censored, not because it's actually harmful, but because it might be considered harmful by some bureaucrat. And once you establish the principle that governments can control online content for quote-unquote safety, that power will expand. It's inevitable. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Today, it's protecting children. Tomorrow, it's preventing misinformation. We've all been there with COVID, right? Next week, it's national security. The infrastructure of censorship, once built, never gets smaller. And here's the most infuriating part. These laws don't even accomplish their stated goals. They make children less safe, not more. When you make it harder to access mainstream platforms with moderation and safety features, people, including kids, move to darker corners of the internet where there are no protections. Age verification systems create massive databases of personal information tied to browsing habits. These databases will be hacked, leaked, and misused. When, not if this happens, it'll create new categories of privacy violations and potential blackmail material. The technical reality is kids who want to bypass these restrictions will do so easily with VPNs and other tools, which is why we're now starting to hear conversations about banning or restricting VPNs. How much worse is this going to get? Ultimately, the only people actually impacted by these types of censorship laws are law-abiding adults who now have to sacrifice their privacy for basic internet access. Perhaps most dangerously, these laws send the message that internet safety is the government's responsibility, not parents. This creates a moral hazard where parents become even more disconnected from their children's online activities, assuming the law has quote-unquote fixed the problem, which it won't. Meanwhile, kids lose out on crucial guidance and digital literacy education that only engaged parents can provide. When we medicalize and criminalize normal childhood development, like curiosity about topics or seeking information about history, we create more problems than we solve. Children need guidance, context, and age-appropriate conversations about what they encounter online, not a sanitized digital bubble that collapses the moment they turn 18. And there's even global implications here. This isn't just about the UK or the US. These laws are being watched and copied worldwide. Australia banned social media for under 16-year-olds. The EU is implementing similar measures. Authoritarian regimes are taking notes on how democratic countries justify internet censorship. We're witnessing the construction of a global censorship infrastructure built with the best of intentions, but paving the road to digital authoritarianism. What's the saying? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So, what can you do about this? Is there anything you can do about this? I have a couple of points here. So first, if you are a parent, take responsibility for your child's internet usage. Don't outsource this job to politicians. Learn about parental controls. Have honest conversations with your kids about what they might encounter online and be present in their digital lives. For everyone else, understand that this isn't a partisan issue. This affects everyone who values internet freedom. Contact your representatives, support digital rights organizations like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Fight for the Future, and, if you're in America, the American Civil Liberties Union. Push back against the narrative that government censorship equals child protection. Because guess what? Real child protection comes from what? Oh, engaged families, not engaged bureaucrats. Most importantly, don't fall for the, quote, if you have nothing to hide, end quote, argument. Privacy isn't about hiding wrongdoing. It's about maintaining a basic human right to think, read, and communicate without constant government surveillance. Maybe that's really what they're after. Maybe they don't want you to read and think for yourself. Anyway, that's going to be a different topic because we could really go down a rabbit hole on that. Let's just get back to the main points I want to cover here. These laws are being implemented right now while most people aren't even paying attention. And by the time the average person realizes what they've lost, it'll be too late to get it back. The internet was supposed to be humanity's greatest tool for free expression and knowledge sharing. Don't let fear-mongering politicians and moral panic destroy that legacy in the name of protecting children they're actually putting at greater risk. And parents, don't let politicians convince you that you're not capable of protecting and teaching and parenting your own children. You should be their first and best line of defense against online harms, not some stupid bureaucrat who's never met your kid, doesn't share your values, and at this point in time, probably like 80 years old and barely understands the internet in the first place. They need those like giant icons on their phone and the stupid like old person friendly phone that does like 4 things because they're old. No shade against old people, but do you want those people making laws about the internet? But what do you think? Are these laws necessary protection or dangerous overreach? Let me know in the comments below and make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into stories that actually matter. I cover a lot of topics around tech, games, and even occasionally movies. But remember, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Stay informed, stay engaged, and don't let anyone ever convince you that censorship is the answer to protecting liberty. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. Bye.